Well, hey everybody, and welcome back to Kiki's Kitchen. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's been a frustrating week for me. I have truly been making videos for you, and I have truly been messing up videos for you. So, what you've seen me actually make is that sticky Chinese chicken, which PS to that is very, very good. So you should try that. I also tried on Sunday, I made videos for 3 hours. I made cowboy cookies, and I also made a peanut butter oatmeal chocolate chip cookie. But they were old recipes, and they specifically called for oleo or margarine, which is what I used. I did not like the finished product. Well, if I didn't like the finished product, I certainly wasn't going to share it with you, so that was a wasted one. Then yesterday, tomorrow's my husband's birthday, and yesterday I made his mother's like 10 to 12 layer cake, and that's a 3 hour deal, and I did that for you, but I let the tape run. It's been crazy. So today, because he gets 2 birthday dinners because, well, he wants to, so you get to celebrate your birthday however you want to. So we're gonna make him a pork roast dinner tomorrow with the rack of pork, which he loves, and then I'm gonna make him steak pizzaiolo. I'm hoping to take you along with both of those things. We'll see how it works out. So the steak pizzaiolo will require pasta, plus we have a wonderful friend of ours who is recovering from a little bit of surgery, and I made him some chicken vegetable soup, and of course I want to make chicken noodle vegetable soup, so I'm going to put some of this pasta in there too, and maybe we'll see how far I go with it. We'll see what else I do with it. So pasta is not hard to do, especially if you have one of these. This is my grandmother's pasta recipe. And she would tell you it was noodles, and we always called it grandma noodles. But she always did it by hand, and I'm always absolutely in awe of her because she did it for, gosh almighty, 30 people. I don't. I do it with this wonderful little machine. So let's get started. All-purpose flour, 3½ cups. And you know, I'm going to show you how to do this, as I always do. I want you to put it in a flat top dry measuring cup, not one with a spout, because you can't get a level measure on it. I want you to tap it on the side and take the back of your knife, flatten it off, make it level, and in it goes. We are not we don't want to dip in because that will pack the flour. You want to take a scoop and spoon it into your dry measuring cup, mound it up tall, tap it off just to get out any kind of air pockets you might have down in there, not to pack it, and scoop it off. Now I know I tell you that every single time I do this, but you know what? This show is really to try and get people to realize that cooking is, first off, most economical. When you go to McDonald's for a family of 4 and spend $60 on that food, that's craziness. When you can get really, really good food that you make yourself, and you don't have to A, break the bank, or your time, because you're working, you got a family. For goodness sakes, time is precious. So this is 3½ cups of flour. And here's the thing, you can do this on a weekend, and we're going to show you how to dry it, and then you put it in the freezer and you pull it out and you use it when you want to. And it doesn't take, it only takes a couple of 4 or 5 minutes to actually boil it because it's fresh pasta. So to that, we are going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt. You know I always use kosher salt. And that's gonna go. And you can do this, you don't have to do this, either way. I always take a whisk and just whisk through it a little bit. I do that just to get out any kind of lumps. You don't have to because you're putting it in the mixer, but I do. So you do what you want to do. So we are going to now add 4 eggs. And I'm going to get this up here. I'm going to start mixing it. And I'm going to add them in one at a time until each egg yolk breaks. As soon as the egg yolk breaks, I'll add the next one. And I am using my paddle mixer attachment just to get it mixed in. Once it gets mixed in, then I will take out and put my dough attachment on here. Here's one. Three, four. And then finally you want 2 tablespoons of water. 1. And there's 2. Get this mixed up a little bit. Scrape off my beater and add my dough hook. This just helps it gets mixed in quicker. That's why I do it this way. You can do it all with your dough hook if you would prefer. Just takes a little bit longer. The other thing I'm going to tell you is you will be tempted, sorely tempted, to add a little water to this. But I want you to give it time and let it do its thing and wait for that dough to form before if you might have to add a little bit, but I want you to hang in there. So this is gonna go, I'm gonna go for about 2 minutes and see if I can show you what it's looking like. And you'll see as it starts to pull away and pull up from the bottom. You see that? Pulling everything up from the bottom. And it is just that simple. So we're gonna let that go for about 3 minutes until it starts to come together. Then I'm gonna take it out. I'm gonna knead it just a few times and then I'm gonna let it rest. So I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, it's done, but I want you to see how it's pulled away. You see that? Completely pulled away from the side. So let's set you back down here carefully so I don't mess up this video. And I'm gonna take this out. I'm going to do it again, so we'll just put that aside for the moment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. You know, I always think I have everything, you know that. I'm going to make a disc out of this and I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. Because it makes it easier for me when I'm doing my pasta. Plus, it makes it easier for my poor old hands to knead them individually. And I'm just going to knead it a little bit. I'm going to roll it forward with the heel of my hand and knead it just a little bit. That's about it. I'm going to make it a nice disc. And I'm going to put it on this paper plate. And you're not going to believe how much pasta this one little recipe makes. And you know, it's funny because this is my grandmother's recipe, and I say that I went and spent a weekend with her one time years ago, seriously years ago, and I wanted to know how to do this. Well, of course she did all by hand, and there was no mixture, there was no recipe. It was, she spread a big mound of flour on her table. She put the eggs in the middle. She pulled from the side. You know, she did the real deal. But she did teach me that you could freeze them, which is the only way she could have done it for all of us that she was feeding. That's for sure. Of course, there's always the great story that I could eat my weight in these things. And my mother didn't necessarily want me to do that. So I used to send my little cousin Pammy after him, and she always went and got seconds for me. So it's good. It's always good to have a little cousin Pammy. All right, so I put them on this, and I did that because I want them to rest. I have a little damp towel. I'm gonna cover them. They're not gonna raise like any kind of a yeast dough would, but they're gonna rest and all those glutens are gonna relax. And it's gonna be easier for me to put through my pasta maker. So meanwhile, while they're resting, and I'm gonna let them rest for about 20, 30 minutes. And while that's happening, I'm gonna make another batch because I'm gonna make some for like fettuccine type noodles, and then I'm gonna make some for sheet noodles. So I have them on hand for whatever it is I wanna do, whether it's ravioli, maybe. I'm gonna get there. I promise you I'm gonna get there with the ravioli. I don't know why I've been so hesitant to do it. So that must be a catalyst. Or lasagna noodles. So I will be back when those are ready to go back through the machine. So hang in there. Okay, my pasta has rested, and actually I'm gonna end up with a whole lot of pasta, which is a good thing because I've got things to do with it, I've got friends to give it to, and I've got a freezer to fill. So, I ended up, this is my dough. I have 8 dough balls here. I'm gonna start with this side because this was my first one. And I have let it rest. Never fails, hang in there. Okay, sorry about that. So now I have my pasta, this is my pasta sheet maker, the roller attachment. And if you can see at the end of this, it's got, you can see this opening up bigger, or it will get smaller, whichever depends on what part of the dial you're putting it on. This is going to fit into the top of your mixer. Just kind of wiggle it around until you get it in there. And then take your nut and screw it in so you get it fastened in securely. There we go. Takes a second for me to catch it. And my pasta has rested nicely. So I'm going to take one of these. I'm going to put some flour down on my surface. And I'm going to cut this one into 4 pieces. And I'm going to take these other 3 pieces and put them back under my moist towel. I'm going to take this and put a little flour on it, spread that out a little bit. And I want to get it kind of a rectangle shape so that I can start forming this. I'm going to run it through actually on number 1 first, which is as wide open as it'll get, just to start forming it. Run it through a couple of times. Then I'm going to increase that to 3, which is going to close that up a little bit. And as you can see, it's getting longer. I'm going to add just a little bit of flour to it. Just a little bit. Because I want to keep it going through there nice. And I'm going to increase this to a 5, which is going to close it up and make it thinner and thinner. That looks about perfect to me. I'll lay this out. Get my next one. Go back to a 1. Press it down into my flour. Kind of make a little rectangle out of it. And in it goes. Twice, up to a 3, and you add flour as you feel, because if you feel any resistance at all, and I don't on this one, so I'm going to run it through on a 5. I want to show you something. So can you see the little tears there? So basically it definitely needed some flour because it was tearing. So I'm gonna put this here. I want to do about 4 of them, and then I'll switch out my attachment and cut them. So back to a 1. And actually, when I get ready to cut them, I'll bring you back. I mean, well, maybe I'll show you one more. Maybe I'll show you one more. Again. Put some flour on it. Good shape. And if you don't get a good shape, fold it in half and put it through again. That's no big deal at all. Two or 3. I'm going to add a little bit of flour to it. Just a little. And then up to a 5. Now this right here, leaving it just like this, makes the best, absolute best lasagna ever. Leaving it sheet pasta like this. So, however, I'm going to show you now. We're going to undo this. Pull this out. And now I'm going to use my fettuccine attachment. And this all comes together in the same kit, so to speak. Secure it in there and get it going. And just feed it through. And there you have it. Now, I'm going to back you up here because I want you to see this. This is my pasta dryer, and truthfully, it is stuck underneath here. It is so awesome to have this because it really is so great to be able to put this on here to dry it. And you just lay it over there to dry. And honestly, they'll get nice and dry and they'll start cracking off. And then when they get dry, that's when I put it in. I put it in to freeze it. So, and then they don't have to be dry to cook at all. But it's a great part of the process. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to cut these. You don't have to watch that part. When I get this filled up, I'll be back to you. I actually did want to show you, because if you do get this dryer rack, it comes with a wand, and I want to show you how that works. So we're going to take this through. When it gets about halfway, I stick my hand under there, but I keep my other hand up here so it doesn't hang up. And then I put it on this little wand. And let me back you up here. And it goes, you put it in here, and then just let it drop off. Of course, I lost one. But, so sometimes it's hard to get your hand in there, and that's when this comes in handy. So just wanted to show you that. So I'm still working on it. I do want to make sure that I make it clear that it's important to keep this nice and floured. Now, you know, I'm not saying, I mean, you see how much flour is on here. You want, you know, and like I said, shave it into a little rectangle to start it off. But between numbers, if you will, you're gonna, you may need to flour it a little bit more. So like for instance, let me show you. Because I don't want you to get it to where it's tearing and you're frustrated. So that still feels pretty good. I'll put it through the number 1 twice. And then I'll just lay it down here and just put a little bit on here. And that's a little too much, and that's all right, just wipe it right off so that it looks like this. Knock this back up to 3. Obviously, it gets longer and longer each time. I know you can't see me, but you don't need to see me. And I can still see a nice amount of flour on this piece of pasta. You see that? And now I'm going to kick it up to a 5. But if it starts to ripple or tear at all, first off, you can always fold it in half and start sending it through again. But the key is keeping it floured. That is the key. And that looks nice. Look how nice and thin that is. So I just wanted to make sure that you understood that it is important to keep it floured as you move forward with it. So I'm going to keep going. I'll be back. Okay, so my pasta is all done and it's nice and hanging. I want to show you, this is like the first one I did. And see how nice and ta-da, nice and dried that is. I will probably let those sit out overnight, which is absolutely perfectly fine, and let them dry. Once they dry, I'll put them in a Tupperware container, and at that point in time, I'll put them in the freezer. Now, these are earmarked to go elsewhere, but that's what I would do, is I would put them in the freezer. Then I would add them, like for instance, tonight I'm making a chicken vegetable soup, and I'm going to put some of these noodles in there because I have a serving for my husband and I will add them to that serving. But to my big giant pot of chicken vegetable soup, no, I'm not going to do that, because just like any pasta or any rice, it will suck up every single bit of liquid in there, and then it'll be chicken sludge. So it's better to boil them as you serve them. So keep them in the freezer, then heat your soup up, or your spaghetti sauce or whatever, and then put it in there, because you'll get to enjoy them much longer. So that's the deal, and it's very simple to do, especially if you have a little pasta attachment. I did not get to making the sheets because this was a double batch of my recipe, and it filled up my whole rack. So I'll have to have another day when I make sheets of pasta for lasagna. So you have a good evening. I am so excited I finally get to post an actual video. Have a good night. Bye.